Okay, for this question we're going to do question 8 on the apply section, and the title of the worksheet is volume of a cylinder. So first thing we're going to do is read out the question. So the question says that the diagram shows a solid cylinder, that's this one, and the cylinder has a radius of 2y. So we're just going to put that in. So the radius here is 2y, and the height of the cylinder is 6y. So that's this one here, that's the height of the cylinder, 6y. And then the next part of the question says the cylinder is melted down and made into a sphere of radius r. So this here is a sphere of radius r, and the question says express. So I was going to write this down. And so the question says express r in terms of y. So with this question we're going to have to do a few steps, and they're quite straightforward steps. I'll show you how to work through it. The first thing we need to do is find the volume of this cylinder, because we know that obviously when it's melted, when the cylinder's melted, it will have a volume to it. There'll be, whatever it is, the volume of that will be melted, and it will be put into it will be made into a sphere afterwards, after it's been melted. So the first thing we do is we need to find this volume of this cylinder. So we know that the volume of a cylinder, we know that already, is pi r squared times the height. So we know that that is the volume of a cylinder. So when we look at this carefully, we see that the volume is going to be pi times the radius squared. Now we know the radius is 2y, so that means that here we're going to put 2y squared, and we're going to square the whole thing, so that 2y, all of that is squared. Okay, so what that means is 2y will be 2y times 2y. That's what I mean by squaring. We're squaring all of this 2y. Yeah, just like for example, let's say this radius was, if it was for instance 4, then we're going to square that radius. It'd be 4 squared, so 4 times 4, which is 16. So that's the same thing here, but the only difference here is we've got letters. We've got a variable here, which is y. So that is the radius, 2y squared, and we're going to times that by the height, which is 6y. So here we've got the volume of the cylinder is going to be pi times 2y times 2y. So let's come to the side and do that. So 2y times 2y, 2 times 2 is 4, y times y is y squared. So this is going to be 4y squared times it by 6y. So now we can do this here. So the volume is equal to 4 times 6, so it's going to give us 24, and y squared times y is y cubed, and we've got the pi there, so don't forget that. So this is now the volume of the cylinder. So this here is the volume of cylinder. So I'll just write here volume of cylinder. So that is 24y cubed pi. And then the next part is that volume there, that cylinder is then melted into a sphere. So it's been made into a sphere with this radius r. Now I know for year 7 you might not have done this, or you probably won't do it in year 7, finding the volume of a sphere, but you will definitely do it in year 8 or 9, where you'll be introduced to the formula of a volume of a sphere. So I'm just going to tell you that formula now. So the formula for volume of a sphere, so the volume of a sphere is equal to 4 over 3 pi r cubed. That is the formula for the volume of a sphere. Okay, just don't worry about where this comes from at the minute, just let's apply it. Let's use this formula. And in most cases, they give you this formula in the exam anyway. So that is the volume of a sphere. And then the next part is that we know that this volume here, volume of a cylinder, is being melted into this volume of a sphere. So we are going to say that the volume of this sphere was this. So it was 24 y cubed pi. It was the cylinder. Okay, and we're going to make it equal to the volume of the sphere. So the volume of the sphere is 4 over 3 pi r cubed. And then the question, so that's what we do for this one. The question said express r in terms of y. So we need to make r the subject to the formula. So r needs to be by itself. The letter r needs to be by itself. And if we look at this formula, if we look at what we've done here, we see that the only r we've got is r cubed. So we need to leave that alone. We can't touch that r cubed. Okay, that needs to stay where it is. So we need to get rid of everything else here. So let's firstly take this step by step. So what we need to do is we need to get rid of this fraction. This fraction here, we need to get rid of it altogether. So the way we get rid of that is, so we've got 4 over 3. So if we do the, I'm just trying to find a simpler way. There's a few ways we can do this. If we want to get rid of this fraction, we just times it by 3. Because the denominator is 3, if we times it by its denominator, we always get 1. So for example, if we have 1 over 3, if we times that by the denominator, so if we times that by 3, then we get 1. Because whenever we times it by its denominator, we get rid of that fraction. We get rid of the denominator when we do that, when we times by its denominator. Yep, so it's the same thing here. If we have 4 over 3, in this question, we have 4 over 3. So if we times that by 3, then we do it. 4 times 3 is 12. And then over 3 gives us 4. So you see what we've done there? 4 over 3 times it by its denominator, we get 4. So we've cancelled out. We've got rid of now of this fraction. So that's what we're going to do here. We'll times it by 3. So what we do to one side, we have to do to the other side as well. So times this side by 3, so we get 4 pi r cubed. And when we times this one by 3, then we get 72 y cubed pi. Okay, and we want r by itself, so we need to get rid of this 4 pi. So divide both sides by 4 pi, because this is 4 pi times r cubed. These are all times together, so the opposite of timesing is dividing. So divide this by 4 pi, so that we'll be left with r cubed here, and then 72 y cubed pi. Divide this by 4 pi, and then we will get our answer for r cubed. So I'm going to come down here and write down r cubed is equal to 72 y cubed pi divided by 4 pi. So I've just rewritten this step here. And then the question said express r in terms of y. So when we do here, so we've got 72 divided by 4 is going to give us 18. So 18 y cubed, and then pi divided by pi is 1. Okay, any number divided by itself is always 1. And then we're left with r, that's r cubed. So to find r, we do the opposite of squaring the number. So opposite of squaring is square rooting. So if we have, so this is cubed, so we need to do the cube root of this. So the cube root of 18y. Yeah, cube root of 18y. And that's what we get for this one. That's the answer for this question here. And obviously, because we've cube root the y, then we just leave that y there, and it is the cube root